All right, good Thursday morning, everybody. Come on into the Rooted in Progress Stream Center, joined by your weekly hosts, Deanne King and Terrence Middlebrooks. How you doing today, Terrence?
Hey, I'm doing well, Deanne. Good morning.
Oh.
This is a big topic today.
Yeah, it is a big topic.
Yeah.
We have been talking about it all morning, all week, honestly, in our newscasts. I know it has consumed social media, the pictures, the videos, everything going on in Los Angeles right now. For folks listening in, we're talking about the catastrophic wildfires that are raging right now through the Los Angeles area. 5 dead, unfortunately, as it relates to these fires. 4 fires are burning right now. Hearst, Woodley, Palisades, Eaton areas. These are all communities throughout the Los Angeles area. And when you think about this and you look at the devastation and you look at the fires themselves, Terrence, it's heartbreaking.
It's tough, and to think about this is like, year after year, people always say, oh, well, why does this keep happening? It's another wildfire in California. This is not just another wildfire in California. There's thousands of homes, thousands of people being affected. And like you said earlier, you already have 5 casualties. This is a very big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal. You mentioned thousands of people evacuating. We're actually joined by Rachel Dalvish. She is a Palisades resident, and this is where she's from, born and raised in this area, an evacuee of the current wildfires that are going on right now, and an attorney in the Los Angeles area. So one, Rachel, we want to thank you for joining us on Rooted in Progress today, but more importantly, how are you? How are you doing?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll be honest with you guys, I really don't know. I don't know how I'm doing. I don't know how I'm supposed to feel. I don't know what I'm supposed to tell you I'm supposed to feel like, because I got to be honest with you. What I've seen on social media especially has been really interesting. I'm labeled. I'm a Democrat. I voted for someone. I did this. Who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Absolutely.
I don't have anything. I left my house because there was a fire. Like, you're going to label me something? Label me unfortunate. Label me homeless, label me, with no clothes, but don't label me as in fact, I think this is the best time for us to get rid of those labels. Yeah. This is the time where we need to not worry about who's MAGA, who's this, I'm not MAGA, but who's this, who's that, and not worry about why are we helping each other. Yeah. If you saw what I went through, and I still have myself, my life, my kid, my parents. Some people don't have that right now.
Right. So, Rachel, where are you right now?
I'm in the Marina Del Rey. Okay. I'm in a hotel. I got to tell you, the weather here is the air quality is horrible. I personally, in a hotel room, have a cough that I've developed from this. This is affecting us in so many ways you've never perceived. Even if you thought about it, I've been through this before. I've had to evacuate. In fact, you want to know the truth?
Yeah.
New Year's Eve, check Citizen, check all the apps. We had another fire. I'll send you another photo. I'll send you a photo of this fire. We had another fire. At 1:30 a.m., I had the bags packed and ready to go. No calls, no nothing. But if you saw what it looked like, you would be packed and ready to go. So New Year's Eve, I should have known we have issues with how our government is getting in contact with us with something that looks this massive.
You live in the Palisades area, and we know this is an area obviously being devastated right now where the wildfire is pushing through. It came down Tuesday. So what were you doing at the time? It was Tuesday morning. I know you had your baby. How did all of this unfold for you?
Man, what a just amazing contrast of days to have. I wake up in the morning excited to take my daughter to her first day of preschool back from winter break. We go, she sees her friends. These are all like outside. I had a fire burning in front of me. I'm two homes away from sort of the main artery that would lead down. And I got everything together, put it in the car. My daughter was at school and I had to figure out how to get to her. And we literally only have one way down the hill.
Yeah.
So you can imagine there's 2 lanes and a lot of people.
Your entire neighborhood, essentially, right?
Whole neighborhood. And you want to know the greatest part is you should have seen who was helping. The people that were helping us were the people that probably don't even live in our community. They were our gardeners. They were anyone there that was helping or working or doing construction, anything. We became what is a real definition of a community.
Yeah.
Wow.
No one asked, who did you vote for? No one asked. They just helped.
When you saw the fire at the gate, it's you and your 3-year-old baby. What's the first thing that comes to mind in that moment?
So she wasn't with me. She was at school, but she's always here.
Yeah.
Right. So I looked at the fire, and you're exactly right. I look at the fire, and the first thing I thought was that's it. There was I've looked at fires before. I've had earthquakes. I've dealt with all those. I looked at this one, and I said, that's it, guys. We got to go. And we did that. We just rolled with it.
So, Rachel, do you have any friends that, down here in Florida where we're broadcasting from is, we get threatened with hurricanes. And the Floridians, the true Floridians are the ones that are always going to say, oh, we're not going to evacuate when there's evacuation protocol taking place. Do you have any friends or know anybody that kind of had that same mentality that maybe you even know that didn't evacuate?
As I said, I grew up there. My childhood friend's mother. So if you happen to know how old I am, you can imagine how old this mother might be.
Yeah.
She decided she'd just lost her husband, and she decided she wasn't going to leave her house. She did not leave her house until they physically came in and removed her at midnight. I think it was 12:30 in the morning, where she had to actually walk down the hill. So she, at this point, I don't know if she knows the status of her home either, but she was in her home. I was in the hotel by then, but this woman was still there defending her house. Now, another interesting point you brought up about staying in your home and what Floridians do. I actually wondered, what if we stood there and we used our hoses because the fire department didn't have any water.
Yeah.
Wow.
So what if we used our hoses, and what if we did this? I don't know. I'm thinking about a million things that I wish were thought about beforehand.
Well, and now in the current space in which you're in, you've evacuated, right? And so you told me there's an app where you're trying to keep up to date and find out. You don't even know the state of your home.
I don't.
If it's still there, right?
I don't. What I'm concerned with is if it's there, or it's not. I'm not concerned at this point. I'm concerned with what are we going to do when we find out. What are we going to do? Because what I see right now doesn't even matter if I'm just another one. I'm just another casualty at that point. I want to know, what are we going to all do, not only to get through this, because we have to. We have a great little community there. We have a great community of people who have done a lot of good things for the rest of the country, the rest of the world. We're a little pocket of interesting. And I think my real concern, as you asked, what I'm going through is, what am I going to do? What am I going to tell my kid when we drive there at some point? That is this a war zone? Where have we seen this before in our lifetime?
Yeah. Speaking of, because you say you're from here, you grew up in this. How many wildfires have you experienced, and where on the spectrum does this specific event land?
There's no spectrum that this lands on. Nothing has ever. No, I went to college. I went to UCLA as well. And I remember having to evacuate at that point. That was a pretty serious one. There have been evacuations. I've never looked at a fire before and said, that's it.
Wow.
I've never looked at something and known that's it. And I think that was the crazy part, is I sort of registered that in my head when I saw this fire at my front doorstep. So I kind of came to terms with it internally. You know what I mean? I had to just come to terms with, I'm going to drive out of here, and tomorrow there's not going to be the supermarket. There's not going to be and these are people with their own little businesses too in the Palisades.
Yep.
So for
mom and pop shops.
So for our listeners who are tuning in, and what we're showing on the screen right now is some aerials of of Southern California being torched by these flames. Right now, the report is over 27,000 acres are being affected or are on fire right now. So, Rachel, my question is, again, going back to being here in Florida, when we do have to evacuate, everybody travels north. There's no other way to go. Question to you is, the fires are coming in from the west, correct? Or from the east. Where do you evacuate? What is your evacuation plans, or what were they? Because right now we know it's kind of, the fire is moving southwest, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe it is, but the problem is the wind, and I don't know where that's going to take us next. So I think to answer your question, I still really don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just wonder why we had to be in this sort of. So what I'm concerned with, again, like I said, I think I said this earlier. We came to this hotel, and I came to this hotel because I thought it was far enough to where we could get away and not be affected. Overnight, I have now learned that my other friends who have left town, they've gone to other hotels, other areas, who just got evacuated as well. So it almost seems like we sort of, for this particular incident, we don't know where to go.
Yeah.
We don't know. I think for now I'm okay. If I look outside, it looks horrible. I don't know how much further south I can go. And then don't forget, we have fires everywhere in California.
Yeah.
Where am I going to really escape to at this point?
Yeah.
And also, you don't want to be that far.
Let's look at the root. Speaking of rooted in progress, get into the root of the issue here, right? It has now been released, of course, Mayor Karen Bass, she left. She was in Ghana at the start of the first wildfire that broke out, and took a few days to actually come back home. She has now returned to Los Angeles and started surveying different areas. What is that talk? And what does that conversation look like among you, your friends, your neighbors, and the people of LA County, knowing that you all are being impacted, but your mayor was in another country?
So look, I'm a problem solver. I'm not interested in really getting into, it was her fault, it was his fault. We got a governor, we got this, we got that. The buck stops with her. We got to get that straight. She's got a duty. She's got a responsible obligation. She was in West Africa, and she forgot about her West Los Angeles. So that's a bit of a disconnect. However, let's take her out of this equation. What are we going to do? What are we going to do in the future so we don't going forward?
Yeah.
How are we going to get through this? We need good people. We need good leadership. I don't care about Mayor Karen Bass at this point and what she did do in the past. Let's see what she can do now. Get on the ground, do what you need to do. Get us water in the hydrants.
Yeah. And that's a big issue as well.
They're using pools. These poor guys, the fire departments are using pool water to put out fires. Where's the National Guard? This is the other thing. I talk to people who know us as Americans. We come with a lot of military force. We come with a lot of background. Where was our National Guard the moment this started? This wasn't some mystery.
Yeah.
So those are the things in the future. I can't say I'm going to, beat her up over this because it's too late now.
Yeah.
But I'm going to beat you up for what are we going to do for the future? And if you're not going to be the one to do it, let's bring someone in that's going to.
Do you think
there are lots of people who do. Sorry, there are lots of people who are good enough to do this.
Do you think the future involves fixing what happened with the budget? So for folks who are listening in and aren't aware, Mayor Bass actually cut LA Fire Department's budget by about $17 million last year. Do you think that that's a place where we start so that we can actually see some progress with this, so you're not in a predicament where a wildfire comes and the fire department doesn't have water?
Without knowing much more than I do, without knowing any more than you do, it would seem like a good place, right? It would seem like the right place.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
without knowing anymore. And I think that's our problem in society is we want to think of all these like crazy cool ways to do things. Really basic.
Yeah.
Sit back, take people's information, sit back and do the studies, Mayor. Look at what the weather pattern was going to be like right now. And know for a fact that we are not 1.0 anymore. We are not 2.0 anymore. We're like 5.0 on everything.
Yeah.
So the degrees to which things are happening, that's the grip that people need to start getting.
Yeah. Where do we go from here? I mean, you personally, when you think about the city of Los Angeles, when you think about the Palisades, when you think about Altadena, where do you go from here?
You have to go forward. And I just want to make sure we don't get taken advantage of. My fear now is you've got a lot of people who know how to come in and loot without being looters. Like you're not going to see these people on your TV screens running into your house. These are people who are going to loot your life, your livelihood. What are we going to do about that?
Yeah.
So I just hope there aren't going to be scams out there. There's a lot of insurance issues that are going to come up. And don't forget, I don't know if you know this, but a lot of us were or are about to be dropped from insurance.
Yeah. You all are in an insurance crisis, California.
This is not what we needed right now. This is not what we needed. For me, personally, we have a letter from our insurance company, and we were going to be dropped in March.
Of this year.
Wow. And can you imagine if this happened in March? And to the people they were already on the drop list,
right,
who were working with the California Fair. This is a SHITSHOW that we've never seen before.
Yeah. It's one of those things where being able to talk to you and hear the stories coming out of areas like Pasadena and coming out of just Los Angeles as a whole, it makes it that much more real. We see these images. We're taking a look at the images right now of just the wildfire raging through that area. But hearing you just say, I don't know, it sent chills down my arms, because what can you do?
Do you want to look at a photo? I grew up in an area of the Palisades called the Alphabet Streets. They're called the Alphabet Streets because they are alphabetically in order.
Okay.
Raised, leveled, erased.
Wow.
Gone. And that's where almost everyone in the Palisades wants to live, because you can walk everywhere.
Yeah.
So the amount of work it took for someone to get to where they were, to be in a comfortable town that they were so happy in, where you wake up in the morning, take your kid to school. My daughter went to the oldest, her preschool is the oldest building in Pacific Palisades.
Wow.
She doesn't know it. It's burned down.
Oh my gosh.
Across the street from my elementary school, which also burned. Down the way from my high school, which also burned. Down the way from my junior high school, which also burned. Every single school in Pacific Palisades burned. What are our children supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? That's what we're talking about now.
Yeah.
So your question, and I think I showed you earlier, I've got messages coming in moment by moment on what are we going to do for these kids? Where are we going to take them? And we're talking about hosting in our homes if we have a home, which we don't know. I don't know about yet.
Yeah.
Those are our questions now.
My goodness. Well, my thoughts are with you. My thoughts are with your family, your neighbors, your coworkers, all the constituents of Los Angeles County. I know emotionally, what is there something that comes to mind as far as how you're feeling?
I'm ready to rock.
That's right.
I'm ready to rock.
I know that's right, Rachel.
I got my 30 seconds of shut eye. I'm ready to rock. I'm ready to do something. I can't see this be our lives, be our everyday for much longer. I'm stuck. I'm stuck in this room. I'm stuck.
Yeah.
And I can't do anything for people until I get my facts together. If we can get a group of people together, and that's all we're doing is trying to get organized on this end. So.
Well, Take your time. Do you have a timeline? And I know you have to go soon. Do you have a timeline of when you'll be able to go back home?
No.
Okay.
I have nothing. Nobody
Okay.
has we got one phone call recently. I think that must have been when the mayor returned. That we got one phone call from the city. That was it. Never gotten anything else.
So you'll basically know from leaders and officials when you can return home.
You want to know where I think we're going to learn? When I can go home? From these guys that are canvassing the properties for all of us and sending us messages and saying, here we are breathing in this air for you. No one else is doing it. No one else is here. We're here for you. My heart goes out to those people who are getting us our answers right now.
Yeah.
While I'm in a hotel room.
How far are you from your home?
So Marina Del Rey would probably be about 7 or 8 miles. Not very far. We can actually see the fires from here.
Wow. And it's just dark, and it describe what we're seeing, what you see outside. Pitch
black with the red. I think I sent you a photo. It's pitch black with the red.
Wow. Well, Rachel Dalvish, we have you in our thoughts and our prayers. We'll continue to check on you and make sure you are doing all right. It's weird, you know, like when people are like, do you need anything? Or like, you know, there's only so much a person can do and provide. But otherwise, we will continue to pray for you and keep you in our thoughts for sure.
Appreciate that.
Okay. Well, thank you, Rachel. We appreciate you joining us here on Rooted in Progress. This is one of those things, y'all, for the folks who are listening in and tuning in right now. These wildfires, as you all heard from Rachel, she was born and raised in this area and has dealt with wildfire after wildfire after wildfire. And she says she can't even describe or put this on a spectrum as far as which one's the worst. It far exceeds what she would have ever been able to imagine and think that this could ever happen. So our hearts really go out to her.
Yeah, it's tough, man. And you ask yourself, where do you go from here? Where do you go from here, people?
Yeah.
Now is not the time to point fingers, but to come together as a community to help. You know, we may be on this side of the country, but there is still ways that we can help. Number one would be prayer. You know, let's just keep praying for California and definitely keep praying for this nation. So it's a tough circumstance to be in.
The images that she sent, we weren't able to actually bring up here for folks who are watching us. We've had some live aerials of different images throughout LA County as a whole, where you could see just a different thing. Like everything is on fire. And y'all, what's making this worse is the wind.
Yeah.
It's so windy out there that literally the fire is just blowing onto other homes, onto businesses, onto other structures. And it's just causing widespread devastation across the area. So if you are waking up or if you're just tuning into this podcast, if you can, no matter what your faith is, think about them, pray about them, say some words of encouragement. If you have any family or friends over in the California area, please make sure you're checking on them. And I think it'd be great, Terrence, especially as we cover this from a news standpoint, that we do our due diligence, like Rachel said, to make sure it's where do we go from here?
Yeah.
How do the LA County and the city of Los Angeles officials make sure that when a fire department has to face a wildfire, that their fire hydrants work?
Exactly.
There were reports of failures with their fire hydrants. There were reports of no water to actually go into their water hoses and things like that. What are the officials going to do to make sure they are not put in this position again?
Exactly. And you would think because of California and their history of wildfires that this wouldn't be an issue.
Yeah.
So keep the firefighters, those that are out here fighting this battle, in your prayers as well, because I can't imagine pulling up to a fire hydrant
and not being well equipped.
Your work. These guys are working. These folks are working long hours all throughout the night, throughout the morning, and they're dealing with a lot of emotions. So now is not the time, again, like I said, to point the fingers on whose fault it is, and if it was in a different county or whatever, we would have done something better. But this ain't the time, people.
Yeah.
It's not the time. So.
And we talked to Chris Martinez from our morning show because he actually lived in Los Angeles, worked there for over 5 years. And he was saying, with these communities, it's rare that you deal with wildfires in Hollywood Hills.
Right.
Like that is like close to the heart of the city of Los Angeles, or dealing with wildfires in areas like the Palisades and Altadena. Like that doesn't happen.
Right.
It usually happens like off in the wilderness, where there may be a few homes here and there where of course it's impacting people, but not in the way that this is. And so we're going to be thinking about them, and I think we got to think about the future, like Rachel said.
To your point, like you said, it's off in the hills where water resources are very limited.
Yeah.
And for this to be in somewhat to a heavy residential
you would
area,
think,
that they would be well equipped. I guess if there's any good news to come out of this today, just based on some of the weather reports, that the winds have died down, and they're able to get the helicopters and the airplanes up to dump water on some of these fires. So let's just hope that can continue. So I'm not a meteorologist, and just based on my own viewership of watching other networks and weather stations, and we are right here in the Stream Center, which is right next to our weather center. Our meteorologists are giving us updates throughout the day, even though we're here in Florida, on the weather conditions there in California. So
All right, y'all. Well, let's keep California in our hearts and our minds and our prayers. Thank y'all so much for joining us on Rooted in Progress. We're back and we're here every single Thursday at 11 in the morning.
Yes.
I know we went on a little bit early today, but we had to accommodate Rachel. She is just in an unprecedented situation right now and trying to navigate timing and her life, especially as a mom right now. So we appreciate y'all joining us a little early today, but regardless if you're listening, it really don't matter what time, even a little bit later. But we're here every Thursday at 11 a.m. You could join us live on the WFLA Facebook page or the WFLA app. Otherwise, you could follow us, and subscribe on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. So we'll see y'all back here next Thursday.
Stay rooted, folks.
Stay rooted.